Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. An archaeological discovery written in Aramaic and Southern Arabic documents for a kingdom of Oman existed in 200 BC. The UN insists that high-stakes peace talks aimed at ending five-year-old Syrian conflict would still begin in Switzerland later today, despite uncertainty over whether key groups would even attend. The World Health Organization estimates that as many as 4 million people could be affected by the Zika virus as it spreads in the Americas. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has sent a cable of greetings to His Majesty King Abdullah II Ibn al-Hussein of Jordan on his birthday. A new archaeological discovery announced by Archaeological Site of Ancient Maliha Center of the Emirate of Sharjah involves a historical importance for antiques related to Oman history. The discovery is embodied in a stone erects on top of tomb with the name of a deceased person engraved on it, who is Ahmed bin Jar bin Ali Bakr, King of Oman. The discovery dates back to the 3rd century before Christ. It consists of a stone buried under the ground with engravings from Aramaic language and Southern Arabic, in addition to the date when the construction of the tomb was completed, which is the year 90 or 96 according to Saluki history, which is equivalent to the period between 115 or 222 BC, which makes it the oldest historical discovery until now that the name of Oman is mentioned in it. This discovery is placed in Maliha Center for Environmental and Archaeological Tourism in the Emirate of Sharjah, whose first stage was opened recently and contained historical discoveries from a number of archaeological sites from the historical north of Oman. Dr. Asmahan bin Saeed Al-Juri, Associate Professor of Ancient History at Sultan Qaboos University, said this archaeological discovery is revolutionary about the knowledge of Oman in the ancient history. Talking about Oman is to talk about the historical Oman, which is the Sultanate of Oman currently and the United Arab Emirates. The importance of this discovery gives a new illumination, which is considered a documenting engraving for Saluki or Hellenistic age, which is the second half of the first 1000 BC. The engraving reveals historical aspects and the King of Oman during that period. It is not new. The name Oman was mentioned in the Roman writings as a political entity and state, and the discovery matches the writings, especially the writings of Blanos. Saluki era came after the time of Alexander the Great, who conquered the East, and after his death left two leaders. One of them is Ptolemy, who took Egypt. Saluk took Sham, Iraq, and the Gulf region, and established the Saluki state. But Hellenistic means East Greek and came after Alexander the Great era, which was the second half of the first 1000 BC. Historical Oman in Greek and Roman writings comprises a very wide geographical area, including the Sultanate of Oman, the United Arab Emirates, and up to the south of Qatar. Two gunmen wearing suicide bomb belts attacked a mosque in eastern Saudi Arabia during Friday prayers, an assault that killed at least 3 people and wounded 7. The attack struck the Imam Riza Mosque in the neighborhood of Mahasin in Ihsa region. One attacker detonated his explosive while the other opened fire. The Interior Ministry said in a statement carried by the state-run Saudi press agency. The other attacker was stopped from blowing himself up. The UN insisted that high-stakes peace talks aimed at ending the brutal 5-year-old Syrian conflict would still begin in Switzerland later today, despite uncertainty over whether key groups would even attend. The United Nations said in a statement that the UN envoy Staffan de Mistura will start by meeting the government's delegation today in Geneva, followed by talks with other participants. Opposition figures not part of the umbrella group High Negotiations Committee, HNC, said they would be present. The Geneva negotiations, if they happen, would not be a face-to-face conversation between the regime and its opponents. Instead, they are proximity talks when go-betweens shuttle between the different participants. At least 26 people drowned when their boat sank off a Greek island, raising to at least 80 the number of migrants and refugees to have died at sea in the past few days, making it the deadliest week in the Aegean since the migrant crisis began last spring. The latest accident occurred north of the island of Samos, close to the Turkish coast. The Coast Guard said a man who managed to swim ashore told Greek authorities the boat had been carrying 40 to 45 people. The Italian Navy said it had recovered 6 bodies from a sinking dinghy off Libya and pulled nearly 300 migrants to safety as they attempted the perilous crossing to Europe. Japan has put its military on alert for a possible North Korean ballistic missile launch after indications that it is preparing for a test firing. A source with direct knowledge of the order told reporters that increased activity at North Korea's missile site suggests that there may be a launch in the next few weeks. Tension rose in East Asia this month after North Korea's 4th nuclear test, this time of what is said was a hydrogen bomb. Japan's Minister of Defense Jun Nakatani has ordered Aegis destroyers that operate in the Sea of Japan to be ready to target any North Korean projectiles heading for Japan. In southern Zimbabwe, farmers have already lost cattle and crops in the severest drought to hit the nation in a quarter of a century. But the worst may yet to come. Midway through the farming season, the fields around the village are normally green at this time of the year, but now they lie barren. Local people who should be looking forward to the harvest in late March are instead awaiting its failure and wondering how to make do with the meager supplies of food aid. Apart from a few showers in mid-January, it hasn't rained since September, and maize, millet, and sorghum crops have been destroyed. Many families are surviving on one meal a day. The United Nations World Food Programme said the drought is likely to damage harvest across southern Africa, and about 14 million people are at risk. Agriculture is critical to Zimbabwe's economy, generating 30% of export earnings and contributing 19% to GDP. The World Health Organization said it would consider next week whether to declare Zika an international health emergency, and estimated that as many as 4 million people could be affected by the virus as it spreads in Latin America and the Caribbean to North America in the coming months. Zika is a mosquito-borne virus linked to severe birth defects in thousands of babies in Brazil. The U.S. Public Health Agency has been working with the Brazilian Ministry of Health and the WHO since early November to understand the sudden increase in cases of microcephaly, a birth defect marked by small head size that appears linked to Zika. Brazil said this week about 3,700 cases of microcephaly are being studied for signs of Zika. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention dedicated an emergency operations center staffed around the clock to address Zika. The CDC team includes many experts on pregnancy given the usual impact of Zika. Oman oil price March delivery increased by 53% to reach $29.61. Future contracts for Brent increased at this week gains reached to 8%. The prices are going to increase for the second consecutive week, supported by hopes of reaching an agreement among countries producing oil to deal with the glut. The U.S. Brent increased by 60 cents to reach $33.82 per barrel. Still to come in our news bulletin. Royal Oman Police makes a film aims to achieve partnership between the police and society members.
شاركونا في مهرجان مسقط. مهرجان مسقط 2016 ابتداء من 14 من يناير وحتى 13 من فبراير 2016.
A ceremony was held in the Wilaya of Al-Musana in the government of South Batna to conclude the Camel Beautification Festival, which continued for 5 days. The festival reflected attention given to camels by camel breeders. It was organized by Oman Camel Racing Federation. The aim of the ceremony was to select the most beautiful camel. At the end of the festival, winners were honored. The prizes include cars, daggers, and cash. The ceremony was presided over by His Excellency Sheikh Saif bin Mohammed Al-Shabibi, Minister of Housing. Royal Oman Police ROP has various awareness programs that aim at achieving partnership between the police and society members and raising awareness among all society segments. Al-Arish film is considered one of the new dramatic works of the ROP that was shown recently through the Sultanate of Oman television. The film attracted wide audiences across social media means. It was produced by the Public Relations Department of Royal Oman Police in cooperation with the Sultanate of Oman television. The film aims at strengthening cooperation between policemen and fishermen to report any smuggling attempt or infiltration. The film comes within a series of dramatic works of ROP that won a number of international awards. Now for the general weather forecast. Clear skies will prevail over the Sultanate with chances of scattered rainfall in areas overlooking the Sea of Oman. Rest of the Sultanate will have clear skies. Winds will be north to northeasterly light to moderate, occasionally active. Seas will be rough along the Governorate of Musandam and the Sea of Oman with a maximum wave height of 3 meters, while it will be moderate along the rest of the coast with a maximum wave height of 2 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. An archaeological discovery written in Aramaic and Southern Arabic documents from Kingdom of Oman existed in 200 BC. The UN insists that high-stakes peace talks aimed at ending the 5-year-old Syrian conflict would still begin in Switzerland later today, despite uncertainty over whether key groups would even attend. The World Health Organization estimates that as many as 4 million people could be affected by the Zika virus as it spreads in the Americas. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.